Until now I've been very lucky with building my own home. I haven't had any accidents, touch wood, and I haven't made any major mistakes until now. You can't see it, but Brenda noticed the other day that all the eave lining sheets on the highest end of the house have popped out of the metal fascia board. When I was doing the side eave linings, I could glue them in from the top because the roof wasn't on. But when I did these, the roof was on, and so I didn't glue them from the top. They've all popped out, and so the bad news and the unavoidable news is I've got to put the scaffolding up and get back up there and fix that. Being sure I was finished with it, I'd sold my scaffolding to my next door neighbour. Luckily, he's been kind enough to loan it back to me so I can put it up again and fix this problem. Now I've got the scaffolding up again. You can see the problem I'm facing. These eave lining sheets are only being held by the nailing on that side. I've relied on the groove in the metal fascia to hold it, and I pushed the sheets back into them. But obviously the wind's got this and it's popped out. I'm really lucky that that sheeting hasn't snapped off completely, so I'll get a couple of screws in there, and I'll put screws all the way along here. The reason I didn't do it in the first place is because I was trying to go for the neatest seamless look, but obviously that was a mistake. So I'll get this fixed before the sheet falls out. The scaffolding has gone up and come down on the western end of the house, where I've repaired the eave linings up in the gable that were hanging out. On the eastern front side of the house, so far the eave linings haven't moved, but I fastened them in the same way as the other side of the house where I had the problem. So I'm going to pay the insurance, put the scaffolding up. Luckily with the deck I've only got to put half of the scaffolding up across the front of the house. The rest I can do from a portable scaffold trolley on the deck. So I'll pay the insurance, get up there and put some screws in. No worries about that problem happening in the future. Just about finished with the front scaffolding. I've put screws in along all the edges, so that can't pop out, never will. And I'm just in a process of fitting that large 100 watt LED floodlight with a sensor on it, and I'm just setting the time adjustments at night time. Once that's done, that scaffold is gone. Inside the house I've been putting the battens in for the ceilings, and in many spots I go over the top of the wall frames. There's enough clearance between the bottom of the trusses and the wall frames to be able to go straight through with them, like I've been able to do here in the walk-in wardrobe. Been able to do the same thing here. Study nook's got its battens in, ready to go. Same here. And I've just about done this half of the house. Toilet's got the battens in, same as the bedroom, the bathroom rather, and the spare bedroom, and down the hall. So this is pretty close to being ready for insul wool and gyprock, but before I do that I've got to have the council inspector come out. Now those small rooms weren't difficult to do, and I found looking along the run of the batten up on top you could see whether it was straight or not. But when I came to the kitchen, lounge, dining room, this is one big ceiling and I want the thing to be flat. And the difference between the bottoms of these trusses is just amazing. Let me show you. There's my string line there which I put up, and it's sitting on the bottom of that truss. One truss along, look at that gap, and so forth. Goes up and down all over the place. So I want a flat ceiling here, so what I've done is I've brought the ceiling height down to one piece of 3x2 down. So I've got room for the dipping of the trusses, and I put string lines right across the house at both ends and in the middle as a reference point, and then I put string lines down both sides, the long sides, one there, one right down the middle again, and one there. And this gives me something to batten to. So I've got to put spaces between my battens and the bottom of the roof trusses to get those battens flat and nice and level. I've had to do the whole thing and jig right across to the side, because there'd be no point starting here and then finding a lower point over there or over there. So basically what you've got to do is find your lowest point and then pack everything else down to it. You can get pressed metal brackets that clip on the sides there and go up on the side, and you just use some nails. I've been all over Newcastle trying to get the fittings that fit these, and these battens that I've been supplied with are different. The standard battens. The standard battens have dead vertical sides, so this tube is square, whereas this has got a decided lean on it, and so the spread at the top is wider. So I can't get brackets to just clip there and nail there, so I'm going to have to pack every single one as I go. But this is one of these jobs, although it's fiddly, I've just got to do it properly, otherwise my ceiling is going to be up and down like the bloody Sahara Desert, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is, where there's not much gap, I'll put a block in there. Where there's a big gap like that, I'll put a piece of timber this way and then screw up into it and nail the block in there. So I've got to do this slowly and carefully. I'm starting at the middle point here with a batten that gives me the lowest point for both the kitchen and this whole area, and I can batten out from that side, and then I can batten out from that side. But getting these flat is crucial to how the ceiling's going to be. So you've got to take your time and do a proper job. And just for the record, I have never done this before, so if I can learn how to do it, I'm sure you can too. I guess the main thing is to be aware of what needs to be done before you just whack the gyprock up and end up with a crap job. So this you've got to take your time on, because how the ceiling turns out is completely dependent on how I batten this large area where any faults will show up really easily. Let's see if we can avoid them. The wiring of the house is 99% complete. Everything comes down here to where the main fuse box is going to go. I'm going to have 10 circuit breakers here, including 2 which go downstairs to the garaging underneath the house. I found the string line that I put up a very useful tool for working out the thickness of the packer that you need to put between your batten and your truss to get a flat ceiling. You can see here, if I put that packer there, that that's too thick. This other one here is just a little bit too thin. If I put these two together, I get the right thickness of packer. And then when I'm screwing, I'm putting about 40mm screws right through the batten and the packer and right up deep into the bottom of the truss, because remember, your screws here hold the weight of the ceiling. Well, I apologise that this video is predominantly shots of the underside of roofs and ceilings, but that's just the stage I'm at in the build. And I've got this veranda ready to have the sheets put on, and you'll remember that I put a wall of insulation in there to cut this off from the house, and I've realised in doing that, which I wanted to keep the heat generated from here out of the house, there's no venting it gets quite warm under that tin. So I need a means of letting that hot air escape, and rather than a vent on the end, it'll be much better to put whirlybirds right next to that wall. And on the front veranda, I'll need to fit another whirlybird up there at the peak, because I'm going to build another insulation wall to separate this section from the house, so that hot air from this section over the veranda doesn't go into the house. But that'll be a little bit down the track. Best way, apart from the string lines, I've found the best final check of straightness of the ceiling is to get up on the ladder and look along them, and just by eye you can see where they're going up and down a whisker and make final adjustments, bearing in mind that there is some give and take when you put the sheets up in the cement that you use to hold the sheets up. You can see by packing the bottom of the roof trusses at various depths, I'll be able to get those ceiling battens nice and flat. I'm now walking into the kitchen, and you can see it looks good. Those string lines are very helpful. I can't put the gyprock in until the council inspector comes. Before I do that, I've got to do the plumbing. But things are going really well, and I'm back on track again. My extra fixing of the eaves on the front of the house to stop them popping out of the fascia is finished, and the scaffolding is all gone, and the security light is working really well, timing and sensitivity, and the decking timber has weathered well over the past 6 weeks and is now ready for cleaning and protective coating.